In rural areas along the Arkansas River, turning on the tap can mean a dose of radioactive water. A recent compilation of drinking water contamination data shows some of the highest concentrations of radium in the nation are clustered in rural southeast Colorado. In the late 90s, the EPA set the maximum contaminant level of radium to 5 picocuries per liter. But in areas such as Otero County, the level is far past that, showing that 1 in every 6 Otero County residents has tap water above the federal limit. Norman No, head of the South Swink Water Company in Otero County, has been dealing with this problem for decades.
So basically, that's one of our wellheads that, see the silver post, see the wellheads right to the right? In the late 90s is whenever they started enforcing upon the rule, the radionuclide rule. Those limits got accepted by the state or the EPA. So at that time, that in late 1999, we knew we were in trouble because our levels were significantly higher than the 5 picocuries per liter.
For a company like Norman's, the cost to treat the water and remove the contaminated wastewater isn't feasible.
So this map will kind of give you an idea of how the systems are down here. We basically just wrap around the city limits. Swink has their own treatment. In '99, the state health department was telling us that we probably should get an engineer to look at it and do an engineering study on it. They started that study in '99, completed it in 2000, and it was actually utilizing reverse osmosis to remove the radium out of the water. But it also had a large waste stream. 25% of our water with reverse osmosis was lost. So pumping from that deep, 700 to 800 foot deep, pumping it out of the ground that far is expensive, but then to lose 25% of it is a significant loss. All the things that we had to do to get it out of the water was just too astronomical for our company to afford. If we can't even send out potable drinking water to our customers and be able to afford to do that, how in the world are we supposed to be able to possibly afford to deal with the waste stream that we're doing now?
A proposed solution is the Arkansas Valley Conduit, a plan that has been in the works since the 1960s.
We are finally on our way to diverting water through the Continental Divide into the Arkansas River Basin.
The conduit would provide clean drinking water to the Arkansas Valley through a 130-mile pipeline spanning from Pueblo to Lamar.
About 2002, when all these systems started coming under enforcement, then that brought the conduit back into light that maybe we should build this. So everybody pretty much was involved in wanting that Arkansas Valley conduit built because we all had a need for it. You either had the radium problem on the drinking water side or you had the selenium problem on the wastewater side.
Elsewhere in the state, the Peakview Park Mobile Home Park registered more than twice the legal limit of radium for years. Pete LeBar, the owner of the park, found out about the high radium levels about 4 years ago.
Our water comes in from our well and comes in through this white line right here. And it goes into this media filter. This media filter is what's used to filter out the radium. So we operate a what's called a community water system. We're on a well, and we have certain testing requirements that are mandated by the state. And at some point, once you have a certain number of long-term residents in a community, you have to report to the state. And so we met that threshold, probably 4 or 5 years ago. And it was at that point when we tested for radium, we found that there was radium in the water. And it exceeded the MCL limits set by the EPA and by the state. So at that point, the state notified us. We had to notify our residents that there was radium in the water and that the state recommends that the water not be used for consumption. So at that point, we started a monitoring system, and you have to monitor for a year, and they figure out a baseline of how much radium is in the water. So even though we knew there was radium in the water and could have removed it starting then, we needed to go through this whole baseline process. Salt water is taken from this brine tank and run through this media filter, and it pulls the radium out. And then the radium and radium water is stored in this tank here, okay? And then over the course of the day, the water with the radium in it, the contaminated water, is released into the City of Woodland Park's sewer system.
A key feature of the system the park installed is the access to Woodland Park's sewer system. However, rural areas such as Norman's lack sewer systems, making it prohibitively expensive to deal with the contaminated wastewater.
The problem with this is that we could have done all this 4 years ago, but because of the state regulatory aspect of it, we had to go through this whole long, drawn-out process of approvals and design and everything else. And not saying that that's bad, it's just costly and time-consuming. And so, you know, for me and for the residents of our community, you know, they're concerned, we're dealing with those concerns, we are at the mercy of the government, and, you know, consequently, we finally got it done.
After more than 4 years of testing and installing equipment, the park's water now meets the EPA standards, but many areas of southeast Colorado have a long way to go.